Hi everyone, it's Jen again. I'm back with another Let's Play video. This time I'm going to be playing a game called the Animating Principle. And it looks like this game was created in a engine called Neurat. I've never played a game in that engine, nor was I familiar with it, so I'll probably do a little bit of research afterwards just to like familiarize with that because it's interesting. This is a browser-based game. I'll leave a link in the description below if you'd like to try it yourself. Let me just full screen this. And we've got a little press to start button here in the corner. Already, I like the colors. I like the simple, clean line work. Got no complaints so far. It's cute little animated circles of light or magic. Not sure if there's sound. I don't have any sound yet. It doesn't look like all these settings are working yet, at least when I try to click on them. We do have settings here though. I'm gonna go ahead and turn down some of that stuff. And we'll just start a new game and see where we go from there. Notice this game features dyslexic-friendly text. It's available in System Settings Text Font Choice. Oh, that's nice. Interesting choice to have a vertical orientated text box here on the side. Leaves a lot of empty space, so I am kind of curious to see what will happen with that. Spanish translation is work in progress, so will be available after the jam. This recommended gameplay experience is full screen. Oh, the recommended gameplay experience is full screen. Bottom right, our system menu. I like when it has a full screen option. Caridia 890 after disaster. That went by kind of quick. There's a heavy knock at the door, which opens to an impervious looking clergy guard. Mother. Yes, hello. Are you looking for Aldous? I'm assuming she's speaking? No, madame. I'm afraid we're here to deliver unfortunate news. So when it says mother, I'm assuming that's the player character's mother? I was finding it a little bit strange when a character's name is like their role in the family rather than having an actual name, but it might just be for simplifying the storytelling. The guard clears his throat. Madame, I have this letter explaining the news in detail if you'd like. Mother reads the letter. Her knees buckle, and she sinks slowly into the floor as she reads the letter in full. He went serving a noble cause, madame. She sits quietly, crumpled in her skirts. The clergy guard look on impassively, making no move to comfort her. A child appears in the periphery. Their tiny voice sounds from the bottom of the stairs. Oh yeah, so this is the protagonist's mother. Mummy, is that father? Mother snaps and crushes the letter to her chest. When she turns to face the child, her face is twisted, wrought with pain. And this is a little bit confusing when it's told from like this is supposed to be you, the protagonist, and then it's switching to like turns to face the child. I feel like to be consistent, it should be like she turns to face you. Because either we're watching this scene unfold in like first person, or we're observing this scene from like a spectator point of view. It's a little narratively inconsistent. Go to your room this instant. But Mommy. Now. Okay, so this is going to be 10 years later after the catastrophe. Winter bird song. The air is cold in Caridian City, and early morning smells drift through your window as you begin to wake. Thick tufts of firewood smoke. Roasting canberry nuts, glazed with spices and sugar from the market. Most familiar of all, the electric scent of ley lines strongest in the morning as the sun begins to rise. You get up slowly and begin to get dressed. You had a dream last night, but it has begun to fade in the morning light, and you can no longer recall what it was about. The sadness, however, sits in your chest. As you look into the mirror, you familiarize with your reflection once again. You are famous for your ability to reach high places. Glad for your ability to fit into unisex clothes. Average, okay? Known for your ability to squeeze into small places. Short. We'll go average. We'll just go average at the beginning. Your hair is short enough to never get in the way. Framed so it ends perfectly at your shoulders. Probably long enough to be a rope in case of emergency. We'll go middle of the road with everything. Black, so it can always bend with my shadow. Okay. Calm. I feel like I am in a fantasy world, so it's interesting that in the fantasy world there's a fantasy genre. But is it just adventure, or is it like even more fantastical than the fantasy world that the protagonist is living in? That's interesting. I feel like we'll go with science fiction. I mean, I know I'm going with middle options. Okay, this is all correct. Takes a moment for you to remember what you look like now, pulling yourself out of a fitful but now distant nightmare. After a moment, the winter chill that's crept into the room and birdsong help realign you in the here and now. You close the window and head out. The house is quiet. We head out of the house, or we are still in the house. You remember the morning when you woke up to sizzling bacon and fluffy griddle cakes on the breakfast table. Your father would eat his fill and pack away extra as a treat on his journey through the borderlands, leaving you and your mother each with a kiss on the cheek and hug goodbye. Is that Aldous? Was Aldous our father? It's been a long time since you remember having such a happy morning. So, is it the winter chill and the birdsong that's making me reminisce? Okay. So I haven't head out yet. You push the memory aside, shut the door behind you, and move silently to the morning room with your rucksack in hand. You pause in the hallway, a large crystallotype. Oh, that's good. You know, when they have, when they're having like kind of specific lore references, I guess, of world building, it's nice when you can just kind of hover over and see what it is. From long ago, catching your attention. A photographic image produced on a silver-coated copper plate, popular in the 18th century, or in the 8th century. Telescopes are known for their sharp detail and are often used to capture portraits. What century are we now? Wait, 8th century. We are in year 900, I think. Take a closer look? Sure. A willowy woman stands next to a tall, broad man with a waxed mustache. Her face is solemn, and his chin sits high with pride. Between the two of them stands a timid little boy in a prim iron sailor suit. The boy's eyes are wide as saucers, almost as if he's staring off into something frightening. I'm assuming this is probably the family of mother, Aldous, and child. Simpler times, even though you look petrified in that picture. You continue to the morning room where a silver cloche sits on the mahogany table. Lifting the dome off your plate reveals a cold breakfast consisting of toast, a few slices of ham, and a small pot of... Clearly, I am not very well versed in all manners of food beyond cereal and toast. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Sure. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. There is a handwritten note folded next to your breakfast. Sure. Uncle messaged this morning, asked that you meet him at the temple. Mother. Oh, so Mother left the food, I'm assuming? Breakfast is a utilitarian affair. You have little appetite, but you don't know when you'll get the next opportunity to eat, so you force it down with some lukewarm tea. With breakfast out of the way, you prepare yourself to leave the quiet of your family's abode and step into the bustling streets of Curidan City. Okay. Gonna step outside. The city is alive with activity. Preparations for the Centennial Symposium are well underway, clogging the cobblestone streets with carriages, wagons, and newcomers looking weary from their journeys through the borderlands. Merchants and traders are carrying oils, gears, and crystals for various machines they will be offering to both and during and around the symposium, all powered with anima engines of various sizes. There's even rumors that a fully functional self-driving carriage will be showcased. You can't help but feel a bit curious about the inner workings. Sure, you've seen engines capable of that output, but never a mobile one. It is loud and clamorous outside the gates of your family's estate, partially the reason why you keep mostly to yourself at home. Voices drift past you as you make your way through the congested streets. Hundreds of snippets of conversation, laughter, exclamations from the shopkeepers and attendants trying to draw the out-of-town crowds to view their wares. You squeeze yourself between a horse-drawn carriage and a gaggle of old women. Collecting alms for the clergy. Presbyteria. Elders of the local congregation collect alms for the clergy around town. Finally, you find yourself at the Legerdemain Square, the focus of the symposium's activities. Local shopkeepers and out-of-town vendors quarrel over space for their stalls. In the center of the action stands a familiar sight. The Arcano Magisterium Triumphant, a statue commemorating the Arcano Magisters who rebuilt the city of Lore after the catastrophe. It stands in the Legerdemain Square, a central hub of activity during the Centennial Symposium. Sure, let's take a closer look. You step towards the statue, a monument commemorating all that was lost in the catastrophe, and honoring the Arcano Magisters that rescued people from the rubble. You move past the statue and towards the temple, thrumming with energy. At this time in the early afternoon, the temple is a hive of activity. This town is just buzzing with all activity everywhere. It already gives me some, like, anxiety. Let me go back to my quiet house. Near the fountain and along the stone-hewn stairs, young acolytes sit outside and warm themselves in the sun. They chat in throngs, having lunch, sharing their food and notes amongst themselves. Once upon a time, you were also a student like this, but the circumstances were different. The bell tower sounds as you climb the stairs, making the start of the new hour. Through the massive doors, we enter the sanctum, a hive of activity for the clergy. Everywhere you look, there are ongoing classes happening and the acolytes scurrying about to take care of preparations for the symposium. It's busier than usual here. So far, it's interesting the way it opened, where we've got a setup that the father has disappeared in some tragic way. We're not sure the details. The mom probably doesn't want to talk about it. The child is grown up and going to town where there's all these festivities. I would like to learn more about the father, mother, and child and circumstances around the father's disappearance. I'd like to learn a little bit more about what's motivating the main character to go into Because it seemed like they were getting ready to leave before they were told to search for the uncle, so I'm a little curious what their motivation is to going into this very busy, festive town. If it's something that they enjoy, or maybe they want to be a part of this symposium, whether it has to align with their interests or they like the social aspect. I guess I just want to know a little more about like the people and the characters, as feel like there's a lot of like kind of like little snippets of that. There's a lot of world lore to unpack here, but as a reader, I guess, who's a little bit more usually character focused, I want to have more of a reason to like be invested in what's happening other than just kind of getting a bunch of encyclopedic knowledge about this world. But we'll continue going and see how it develops from there. Where should you look for Uncle? Well, I don't think that I'm going to learn where Uncle is by looking at the stained glass window or the lectern, unless he's like leaving me like little like breadcrumb notes, like where to look for him. Let's just go to the lecture hall. Following the scent of leather-bound tomes and candles, you find yourself at the entrance to a dome-shaped lecture hall. The walls have carved seats in them for attendees and curve all the way around the perimeter of the round room. The center of the room, lecturing to a handful of sleepy acolytes, is your uncle. Yay, I guessed it right! As you duck into the room, Haram claps his hands together and concludes his class. Please remember that your treatise on the 3 holy tenets are to be turned in next week. Exams will be the following week. I expect all of you to be prepared and well rested for the physical portion. Uncle looks upwards towards the door of the lecture hall and spots you. He waves you down as you make your way inside. As you do, you take stock of the few acolytes staring at your clergy robes. So we have clergy robes. Not a common sight at the temple, a woman in clergy robes. They are unsubtle in their attention. You let it roll off your back. It wasn't the first time people had stared. Though it bothered you to be in the center of attention at any point in time, you can't help but admit a certain satisfaction of being viewed as some sort of rare occurrence. Next time, I might be the centerpiece of the symposium. You laugh to yourself. Let them stare. Uncle is packing up his things in the travel pack when you approach. Took you long enough to get here. I'm here now, aren't I? I overslept, sorry. Your uncle looks at you. So you're keeping your hair medium now? Yes? Your uncle grins as he rubs your head for a second. Just enough to mess it up. Looks good. Alright, enough dawdling. We have a bit of a trek ahead of us. You and your uncle make your way out of the lecture hall. As you do, you witness a throng of parading clergy making its way down the hall. They hold stacks of rolled-up blueprints in their arms as they trail behind a sharp, skinny figure of an old man. The man stops to consider a detail pointed out to him on a scroll, leaning to study the page with his hawkish, shrewd eyes. After a moment, he takes the scroll and rips it in two, handing it back to the torn pieces to a stunned clergyman. Can only hear him bark again. The clergyman collects the torn scroll into his arms, pale and nodding profusely. That's the new archbishop, the highest-ranking member of the clergy in any city-state responsible for overseeing administration of the church and public affairs, who took over for Bishop Lovelace. Sounds like a real peach. A rotten one, maybe. Yeah, you know how expensive scrolls could possibly be depending on the level of technology in this world? These halls have been buzzing since he arrived. How long has he been here? Just from the start of the month after Lovelace's death. It's been enough time that it's engendered quite a bit of fear in the younger bishops. Word is that he's been pushing them around all quite hard in preparation for the symposium. You shrug, not knowing what to say. All the fervor behind the symposium seems like it would swallow the city whole, but you liked politics even less, so you decide to put the matter to bed. Okay. For some reason, I keep thinking I can scroll to see more options, but there's just the one. You've walked to the reliquary outside of town so many times over the years, yet this time it feels different. I like how the music has been switching up just enough to kind of like, for me to kind of feel a little bit of a different mood as we move from different scenes, but they're all cohesive. Even the insects are less annoying for a change, a good change. As you make your way up the hill, you see the dome in the distance. Opulent, classical, a solid construction made to withstand the elements and time, and yet has been refurbished so much with technology their architects would barely recognize it. The duality of Caridia, forever stuck in both the past and the present, or past and the future. Oh, I totally just made that sentence up. You make your way through the grounds as the structure grows bigger, taking notice of the trees growing by the sides. You hope it's not you who's tasked with trimming them in this time. Despite your best efforts, it's never quite your best work. Your uncle starts his usual explanation. And remember, the most important part of the alignment is to pay attention to the markings on the guiding shard. I know, Uncle, you've told me 1,000 times. And I'll tell you 1,000 more. 1,000 times more, he laughs. I know. I just like continuing the lessons. Keeps me focused on routines and keeps you ready. Your vision blurs for a moment before you register the prick of tears. You blink them away before Uncle has a chance to see. Something the matter? You laugh to mask your discomfort. You're talking like you're not going to be around or something. He stops, looks at you confused at first, then with a grin almost wider than his face. Of course not, but this job isn't getting easier with time. You hit him on the arm jokingly. It's easier to turn to humor when things get too heavy with Uncle. What are you, 38? Watch out, skeleton, your brittle bones may break at any time. Not quite what I meant. Come closer, look, or I'd rather say touch. The lines are getting more entangled. They're catching onto each other, forming this knot. Why do I feel like this is all like foreshadowing that something horrible is going to happen to Uncle now that we've talked about how he's not that old? He steps off the path and holds his hand aloft, like was feeling for the wind. You don't see anything besides snowflakes beginning to drift down from the glooming sky. If you can't see it, how can you tell? Well, that is when the feel comes in. Part of the job I can't really teach you. You must develop it with time. You watch snowflakes drift into small whirls around his outstretched hand. You don't really feel anything besides the cold. It's probably just like my... I've been so conditioned for like the hero's journey to always like start out with like mentors getting killed off. So as soon as I'm like, oh, we have a good relationship with the uncle, they're kind of like a stand-in father figure, it'd be really sad and traumatic and really spur the protagonist into like motion if something happened to this dude. Right? Disrupt your peaceful little life of like getting stared at by the clergy people. You both take a moment to catch your breath as you crest the hill. From here you can see moss-covered columns of the northeast reliquary. Upon the hill you can see the valley below and all of Caridian stretched out beneath. Small clumps of slender trees pepper the area, leading up the path to the reliquary. The shrine itself was an ancient building from a civilization whose language most of them could no longer understand or recognize, except for you. History was one of your favorite subjects. Your mother had to practically send the butler to fetch you for dinner time, to take your head out of the tomb. What good is knowing a dead language anyway, she would say. You let your hand rest on the pillar as you enter the shrine, eyes passing over the same inscription you've seen 1,000 times. A different wall to keep us safe. Inside the reliquary, the floor dipped inward, carved into the ground like a bowl. Then in the center of the shrine lay the instrument the clergy worked so hard to maintain, a gyroscope. A giant tuning device for the Earth, comprised of human-sized lilac crystals. On the spin axis, it's flanked by a silver gimbal and circular frame. It's unclear what year these devices were built for, or for what the original purpose of these were, but nowadays the clergy uses them to keep spirits out of the plane of existence. Every so often, you and Uncle are tasked with traveling to calibrate these delicate devices. Uncle steps down into the gyroscope's housing, that places his gloved hand on the ancient crystal. Here, place your palm on the center. Like this, what do you feel? You reach out and feel the craggy face of the crystal. The surface is worn to time and the elements. Well, it's cold. I feel rock and something else. Dirt, yeah, probably dirt. He laughs. It's okay. Remember that feeling for next time. It will be different. What if I never do? What if I never develop this feel for all this? Oh, you will. Just like me, just like your father. He was a great guide. Well, best one I've ever known. Cast your eyes down to the ground. I'm not like him. Your uncle looks at you and takes him home before replying. I know, I miss him too. Sometimes I think it's the missing that makes moving on so hard. He comes closer and hugs you for so long the calibration is completed. Then hits you in the arm. Ouch! Reply out of instinct, though it doesn't really hurt. What was that for? Well, I'm not one to talk concerning. I hit him in the arm not that long ago. Just hitting me back. This is our love language, hitting each other in the arms. To keep you alert. Oh, and to see if your brittle bones could handle it. Yeah, see, this uncle is just giving us a taste of our own medicine. Now let's work on the upkeep of this thing before we lose our good light. You nod, pulling out your roll of tools from your rucksack. I presume you don't need any. You don't need help? I got this, thank you. I just need to make sure the crystals are aligned, bigger to smaller. Oh, yay, Wait. Is there a mini game? Do I get to do something with this? I got all excited because I thought I was gonna be able to move them, but I think this might be kind of buggy because I'm not seeing. Unless it has different controls, I'm just using a mouse. I feel like I'm supposed to be like moving stuff and then the game is beeping at me because I'm not doing it right, but I think I'm gonna have to skip this because I can't tell what I can actually interact with. So we're just gonna have to skip that. Uncle opens up his ledger and makes notes as he walks the perimeter of the gyroscope. He then pulls out a pair of calipers with a crystal attached at their center. Slowly he tightens the calipers into the giant stone and begins to jot down measurements. Then compares them against his last set of notes. The comparison leaves the subtle wear of concern on his face. Quite a few inches off from our last maintenance. It seems like the tremors are getting worse. What happens if this gets completely misaligned? The barrier becomes more unstable. No telling what sort of spirits could get through if this isn't aligned properly. Which I'm sure wouldn't be something that's going to cause a major conflict in the story anytime soon, right? We've never come across any in my entire time studying with you. Are they really all that dangerous? It's a sign of our good work maintaining this gate. If it becomes misaligned, then the people of the city would be encountering some serious wild magic. Spirits are unpredictable and wild. Come on, your father would have never forgiven me if I let you starve. And I intend to do some pre-lunch shopping this morning. Today, of all days, the market's going to be a nightmare with the symposium preparations. Oh, trust me, it's going to be even worse for the rest of the week. Plus, today the market restocks on goods from Shima Village, a small remote village located in the outskirts of the Korean region known for its fresh agricultural produce and vibrant community life. Can we have Nell's stew? A root stew? Of course. He smiles. Uncle was never too fond of root vegetable. Learned to make a killer stew after you repeated your requests and love for the dish. What a stand-up guy. He's the best uncle ever. As you walk back to town by the side of the hill, the path seems eerily silent. The bird song is muted, and even the crackling of insects seem to have disappeared. I feel like we already talked about how unusually quiet the insect life and the birds were. Suddenly, a rumbling. You feel in your stomach first, and then in your head, and lastly, in the shaking ground. Is it quaking? Worse. We need to get out of here. Uncle grabs your arm and starts running back to the city. Before you can fully realize what's going on, you stop, feeling his warmth on my wrist. It all goes black. When you open your eyes again, you're laying down sideways. The path is no longer there, buried into the masses of dirt, rock and dirt that weren't there a minute ago. A crack has formed in the side of the hill and made a huge rupture. Uncle! Uncle! Where are you, Uncle? Uncle! See, I called it. You could just tell. This guy is too good for this world. He needs to die. You frantically start digging into the debris. Your fingers hurt after a few minutes. It gets worse, but the piles of stone and branches don't seem to be getting any lower. You continue until you can't feel your arms at all. There are barely any branches remaining in the ground, and there's still no sign of your uncle. As you try to stand on your shaking knees, you look back to the crack and notice a lack of light, indicating a cavity that wasn't there before. That must be the place, you think, as you half-run, limp through it. You start feeling dizzy, and then the entire world seems to have changed. It takes a moment for the change in the environment to register with you. Still shaken from the quake, the muted colors of the winter have somehow transformed into vibrant prismatic colors. Shards of crystal erupting from the earth, creating clusters that range from minuscule to larger in a fully grown oak tree. You look around and begin to see shadows moving in and amongst the crystals. Are these the spirits? Yes. You quickly realize that these shadowy forms are spirits. Oh gods. They're unpredictable. We don't know what they might do with their unpredictable magic. You begin to understand what your father's final moments felt like, fear shooting through you as a pure animal need to flee sets in. You trip over something you cannot see and the fall knocks the breath out of you. Your eyes are glued to the figures as they advance. How many are there? 5, 7, maybe 8. It's impossible for you to tell. Desperate to protect yourself, you grasp for something, anything that could be used as a weapon. You manage to find a stone with some heft. Let's not resort to violence because, 8, possibly more than I can count or see, are surrounding me. So, definitely instigating violence is not going to be the winning strategy, I think. You wait, whatever chance you have at getting out of this. You know you only have one shot at it. Best to wait for an opening. To your surprise, the spirits stop about to lunge away from you. The closest to you, a hulking bird-like form, makes a series of noises that spark some recognition in the back of your mind. Yes. Very nice of you to try to communicate with me. I will meet you in the eyes. You look at it. The creature seems to wait for you to commence something. After a few seconds, the spirit makes the same noises again. Though slower and more deliberate. After the third time, you slowly piece the sounds to words you've only heard in your own voice. Old Lorien. It's been some time since one such as yourself found their way into this realm. And what is this realm? The words are clumsy on your tongue, nowhere near as elegant as a spirit speaking to you. You hope the lack of nuance will not offend it. The ethereal plane. Who are you? Why haven't you killed me yet? Why would we do such a thing? Check out this person. They're like crazy. Why does everybody always jump to thinking we're gonna kill them? It's almost like somebody's making up stories about us being like, I don't know, unpredictable and dangerous. That's what your kind do. You're monsters. Oh, yeah, this is not a good... Guys, don't ever, approach, don't ever, jump to the conclusion that something that you don't know is like everything you've heard about them, because especially when they're not doing the thing that they've been accused of. Yeah. That's what we call prejudice. That's what your kind do. You're monsters, and you can't come into our world. You destroy and attack clergy members just trying to do their job. We prefer if you would call us liaisons. Unfortunately, our kind does not respond well to existing on the prime material plane. It's incredibly disorientating. Have you ever tried being a spirit? Being on the prime material plane? It's not easy. It's incredibly disorientating, particularly when we first appear. While we do not seek to harm those that draw us there, sometimes in our confusion we can hurt the living. See, they're just confused, guys. You're not sure what to make of this. So many members of the clergy have been injured or killed while on expeditions. Your father. Yet there's a sincerity to the spirit's words that you didn't expect to hear. If you put your hand in a tiger's mouth, you can't expect not to get bitten. It's not the tiger's fault. They just have sharp teeth. Then where's my uncle? At this, the spirit almost seems to sag. He's already passed on. We are sorry. He wishes he could have made you Nell stew. Tears flow unbidden as you double over, bile immediately rising in your throat. Sobs rack your body as you kneel on all fours. You eventually fall limp and curl to a ball, exhaustion taking hold. When you open your eyes, the first thing you see is a mound of flowers. Oh, they're so sweet. You sit up and stretch, your body sore all over. You have a dull but persistent headache beating in the back of your skull. The pile is made of various wildflowers, bunches of white yarrow mixed with lilies and purple morning glories. There are some flowers here that you've never seen before, even in books. You bury your nose in them and inhale deeply. After a moment, you notice the spirit standing behind them. Did you do this? Yes, we wanted to apologize. This must be quite an overwhelming experience for you. And if you happen to be disorientated and lash out by throwing rocks at us, we understand, because we too do this sometimes when we're disorientated. You weren't wrong about that. How long was I asleep? Quite some time, though the sun has not yet to set in your world. You need to rest. I suppose so. How did you know that my uncle was going to make me Nell stew? He is a part of us now. What do you mean? When the living pass on, they leave your world and join us in this one. While you see many of us here, we are all one. We share the memories of our former lives going back millennia. They're the hive mind. All of us at once, we're people living in your world on the prime material plane. When we lose our forms, we retain our memories, at least until recently. How can that be? Dad? Father? Aldous? I know you can hear me through the hive collected mind. We understand that this is a lot to take in. It might be easier to show you. Liaison reaches out and gestures at the glowing crystal near the two of you, humming at a frequency you suddenly perceive. You move closer, extending your hand out with theirs to make contact with the crystal. As soon as your hand touches the crystal's exterior, your vision goes black. A series of images flash in your head. Some you recognize and some you don't. A younger version of your uncle, beaming down at a baby in his arms. You and him reading together one of your earliest happy memories. Flashes of all the sci-fi books, because he knows that sci-fi books are my favorite. He would read to you. You love sleuthing out clues and possible red herrings with your uncle. You acquired that taste from him. Who knew that this guy who worked for the clergy was such a sci-fi nerd book guy? Him learning about your father, remaining composed till he could be alone before fully feeling the grief and agony of the loss. The flashes of images speed up, but you become dominated by visions of you, your uncle, drilling you for an upcoming exam, accompanying you on your first journey into the borderlands, gifting you calipers, the ones you still use today. He sounds more like the dad than the dad. I only had that memory of eating breakfast with Dad, but like Uncle was like the real MVP here. Your vision returns and you come back to yourself standing along the liaison, your hand on the crystal. I'm sorry. I had no idea what you were. I'm sorry I called you guys all monsters who go on unpredictable murdering sprees. He loves you so much. I love him too. I already miss him and I always will. But wait, if he's here with you guys, why can't I talk to him? Why doesn't he come forward? Hello, Uncle. Come forward, Uncle. But I'm glad he's not alone. Would it be alright if we showed you something else? Something that we have been dealing with for some time. You nod in agreement. Once again, the crystal hums and you place your hand upon it. Your vision goes black. You see an extraction site. Places on the borderline marked for anima extraction by the insert clergy name here. Typically contain a small camp or workshop for the clergy members and at least one extractor. You know from your rounds with Uncle that this location was tapped dry years ago and now acts as a rest station for traveling clergy members in the borderlands. A group of spirits is gathered around the large machine surrounded by scaffolding. You recognize it, an extractor. Black slime oozes out of it, seeping into the ground around the abandoned machine. You smell the noxious fumes as it exudes as it seeps into the ethereal plane. The slime bubbles and hisses as it comes into contact with a cluster of crystals, dissolving them upon contact. Sound like bad news. The spirits begin to move away, but not soon enough. Several of them caught in the slime and slowly disintegrate under their weight. Oh no, Uncle! That's why he can't come back. The black sludge gradually eats at them until they reduce into an acid vapor? You don't just see it, you feel it as well. A sharp sting that turns into a powerful burning sensation that only grows. You never thought that something incorporeal could feel pain. How wrong you were. Then you're back at Caridian City, at least the version of it that exists on the ethereal plane. You're in Ledger Demon Square, but it looks vastly different from earlier this morning. The familiar monument at the center of the square is gone, as well as the anima lights that lined it. The people in the plaza are dressed in long flowing tunics that you're not seen outside history books or theater performance. See a lone spirit standing next to a woman and small child. While the spirit is focused on them, the people appear oblivious to the spirit's presence. The woman gives the child a small handful of seeds, which they enthusiastically toss into the flock of birds in front of them. A pang of longing hits you, permeated with sadness and almost overwhelming sense of love. The spirit holds its hand to the woman and child, but passes right through them. It's my dad! And that's me and my mummy. We're back at the Borderlands, another extraction site. 3 clergy members surround the machine, surrounded by a small group of curious spirits. You feel inexplicably drawn to the extractor. Suddenly the machine whirs to life and the crystal-studded drill begins to rotate. The spirits fall into the ground, swirls of energy being puffed from their misty forms. They writhe in anguish as the machine drones on, collecting anima. This anima-powered modern life is fueled by the sadness and tears of spirits getting crushed into these extraction machines. The church is evil! You feel it all, the pain, the fear, and sheer exhaustion of having one's essence siphoned from their very being. You have felt no pain like it and pray to never feel it again. And then nothing. Your vision floods back into you, gasp, heaving in lungfuls of air. What the F was that? You feel grateful to have known several old luring curses, though none quite powerful enough to convey your confusion and pain. That was us. Is us. Our collective memory or history, depending on how you look at it. It is what we have all felt. Unfortunately, these experiences have only been increasing in recent years. You guys are extracting too much anima. The balance between our worlds is out of control, The ethereal plane is being polluted, and we are struggling to remain here. In vain, we have tried to make contact with the living on the prime material plane. We have sent messengers to your world, but none have ever returned. You guys keep on, freaking out. And we keep freaking out. And it's causing nothing but misunderstandings. Since we have been unsuccessful in making contact, would you be our messenger? Sure, everybody's just gonna treat me like I'm a crazy heretic and burn me at the stake, but I'd love to step forward and volunteer for that job. There's so much we didn't know about you and the damage we've done to your world. I promise to share what you've told me at the church, because I'm sure that all those guys who are super surprised to see me there as a only girl are gonna be totally open to hearing what I have to say. We cannot continue wreaking havoc for both our worlds' sake. Can you give me something that can prove to them that I'm not just making stuff up to be difficult? The recent activity will make the journey back difficult. Our survival rests with you. Be careful, Lyra, and good luck. I think that's the first time I actually heard the protagonist's voice, or protagonist's name. I feel like there should be a little spirit indication here to just show that the speaker has changed from you, the protagonist, to them. You pluck one of the flowers the spirits gave you, a purple morning glory, and place it in your pail. You make your way back to the cavity you came from. I should have picked one of the flowers that I've never seen before. That would have been better evidence. Came through, crawling through the disturbed earth back to your world. Once again, you feel your consciousness drift. The first thing you notice as you reappear back on the road is that feeling of unease in your belly. Then screams. You hear the roar of masses moving and people running. Oh dear. This busy square is not looking good. And this is probably not going to be a good time to tell everybody to stop being mean to spirits, because they're probably thinking spirits are the devil. As you approach the city, the mumblings become more recognizable and turn to words and sentences. Take cover! Run! The spirits are attacking! Yep, so this would be a bad time to be like, hey guys, let's save the spirits. The spirits, they should not be in this realm. Then again, you should not have been in theirs. It's lore all over again. Lore was the gem of the Empire, the brightest city in the world, until the spirit disaster that marked with year zero and separation into city-states. Get out, fast! Trying to make your way against the human current takes you longer and quite a bit of effort, but you finally back into the main streets. A faint glow in the air where the ley lines should pass through. This should not be visible. Neither should the spirits who roam agitate in the middle of the uproar. One of them crashes straight into the wall of a building, causing it to shake. You try to think if they always had a physical form, but are quickly distracted by more yelling. Someone grabs your arm, tries to drag you away from the street. Come on, crazy person, stop going that way, we're all running this way. You quickly snap back to your hand, tearing a bit of your sleeve and freeing yourself. See what this person who stopped to try to rescue you from diving into the catastrophe, and you just shook them off don't bother me, and they're like, no, run for your life. That's what they get for trying to be a good Samaritan, every man to themselves. Focus comes back to you, and you remember the one core truth you came here to deliver, because this would be a really opportune time where everybody's going to be super, super receptive. They're not attacking. They're here lost and confused. You try to head to the temple and come across several armed priests. You run to them. Please, stop, hear me out. I've been in their world. They're not aggressive. They're just confused. The priests look at you and recognize them from the temple, one of your uncle's colleagues. You were what? He tries to understand your attempts at a coherent explanation. A loud crack sounded on the plaza. A spirit has crashed through the fountain, causing it to collapse. The priests unsheath their weapons and take positions. Please, we don't need to hurt them. Even though they seem like they're destroying the town and gonna hurt us, they're just confused. Our priority is protecting the city. We'll deal with your discoveries later if they can be verified. Start running. It's clear they will not listen to any further explanation. You clench your fists in frustration and look at the temple, the archbishop. Because he seems like a real stand-up guy that I'm sure will definitely listen to me. If anyone in this city has knowledge of spirits, it has to be him. He has to listen. You hurry to the administrative chambers. While you don't have time to explain the full situation to the priests on the way, they do help you find the Archbishop quite rapidly, based on the urgency of your actions. You're half surprised when he's the one to run into you. Dear child, I am glad to see you well. I heard about the landslide. I feared the worst when we couldn't find your uncle or you. I am well. But I can't say the same about my uncle, but there are more pressing matters. The spirits. Ah, yes, you do not need to worry about that matter, my child. Our gods have it under control in no time. That's precisely the issue. The spirits are sentient. They mean no harm. The Archbishop thinks for a second. You may have a point. There is some reason in the scriptures to believe they do hold sentience. However, I don't see the evidence for them not being aggressive. As you can see, they are certainly dangerous, a threat to Korean and the Symposium at large. The last sentence stuns you for a second. The Symposium? Surely you can't be thinking of that under these circumstances. But we must. Its success is the key to Caridian's future, the showcase of its progress, the doors to commerce, and the potential of it becoming the technomatic and commercial hub for the next century. Which is precisely why it must happen. The spirits must be subjugated. There's another way. The crystals, if we make them resonate in tune with the lines, they will be calmed. How do I know this? I don't know. Special knowledge. Why would I know that, but he doesn't know that? The Archbishop looks at you intrigued, ponders for a second, and then gestures at you to follow him. Work with me. We will try out his hypothesis of yours. You can explain to me how you came across this theory on our way. You make your way to the main crystal of the temple. The attunement takes a couple minutes, in which you carefully retell your discoveries of the events that happened on the spirit world. Oh no, the puzzle that doesn't work for me. Oh wait. I can pick them up and I can place them back down by clicking on them a lot, I think. I did something. As you finish calibrating it in resonance to the ley lines, you place your hand on top of it. Still feels cold, but there is a strange warmth to it. It feels different somehow. You remember the words of your uncle. The calibration is complete. We must hurry. The Archbishop nods and walks towards the control shard. He is being more receptive than I gave him credit for, I will say. Old, grumpy clergy person, who are usually infamously stubborn and set in their ways, actually open for more open-minded than I gave him credit for. He activates it as you notice a faint glow emanating from the crystal. Then something feels different. There's silence. Well, something makes me think that he's being open to this in like possibly a backhanded way, that he's like gonna like use this knowledge, like take credit for it, or like use it to like finish the symposium thing that's gonna make their city be on the map. Like they're gonna use this technique for nefarious purposes somehow. Maybe I'm just too untrustworthy of like what the church is up to, but we'll see. The room was always silent. You realize that it's the city that has quieted down. While everybody was evacuated, both you and the Archbishop hurry to the balcony of the temple, where you see the creature slowly falling into the ground, almost immobilized. You have done it. The Archbishop smiles and raises his arms and pats you on the back. Excellent. You have been of great help, child. You smile. It really was a more peaceful solution after all. Now I will dissolve all those spirits into a black goo that I will use to power all of my technology. Like, maybe? No, I keep, a comfortable feeling. Archbishop is still giving me, like, weird vibes of, like, I am gonna do something that is gonna you're not gonna like. How are we going to send them back? Don't fret about that, my child. They'll be treated humanely in our care and sent back as soon as the symposium concludes. But in the meantime... The Archbishop grabs you by the shoulder firmly. Yeah. Rejoice, we have achieved what even the sages of the past couldn't. We have at last surpassed lore. You must listen. The energy we're extracting is affecting the spirit world and making the lines worse. We are aware of these complications, yes, but supervising the situation very closely. We'll be taking only the bare essentials for the time being, just skimming a little bit of spirit energy off the top. They'll be fine. They might complain and, I don't know, cry out in agonizing pain that you'll only experience if you happen to be them, but don't worry. Can it just stop? Just cancel the symposium altogether. Remember your vow, child. Your loyalty should not only be to the church, but for the people of Cretia at large. The symposium will ensure the prosperity of our nation, the food on our plates and the firewood in our hearths. It must happen for the greater good. You must be okay with enslaving and torturing and destroying spirits in a terrible way, even though your dad and your uncle are spirits and they're probably going to be dissolved in agonizing pain. You have to be okay with that. We need food and firewood. You take another look at the plaza, to the fallen walls and structures and the creatures, now being tied and prepared for transport. Tied and prepared for transport. That doesn't sound humane. Can you at least promise they'll be kept safe? Oh, they will be kept safe. We do not gather joy, nor profit from their sorrow. You take another step forward. You're not exactly why, but something still feels off. Before you can say anything else, the bishop takes word once again. But enough for now. You've done well, and for both you and your family's effort, I humbly thank you. These discoveries could propel our research and knowledge by decades. We will enslave and destroy so many more spirits so much more efficiently thanks to your lay technique. Save many lives. Save many lives. We must keep the greater picture in mind. This is where you realize that you done effed up. Should not have shared your spirit trap with the Archbishop. Now, if you excuse me, there's a lot of work to be done. You may take your leave. You're not entirely sure how to feel or what to say, but the situation at large has been resolved, and you can meditate on the events on your way back. Turn to the familiar halls and start heading outside. You need the fresh air. The way back feels heavier, colder, slower. You're exhausted. As you walk back, you cross some of the armored priests you talked to earlier. They seem beat up, bloodied, but all right. You breathe a sigh of relief. They nod at you as you pass by. You're not exactly sure how, but it feels like a silent acknowledgement of your actions. You feel seen, noticed, recognized. Many walls collapsed, but few structures fell. No casualties to report. Human casualties, that is. There are guards trying to remove some fallen spirits from the plaza. The black inkish smoke falls to the side. It reminds you of something you saw in the spirit realm. You try to look away. It's for the people of Caridia. There are other guards dragging one of the creatures, netted. You close your eyes. The prosperity of the nation. You remember what you'd rather forget. The greater good. It's not like they, begged me to, advocate on their behalf, and I kind of stabbed them in the back by, showing the church how to, capture them all. I don't know. Are we the baddie? Are we the bad guy here? This is an interesting story. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at here. But it seems like there's probably a lot more going on. We've got a history function. Seems like it only goes back so far, though. We do have a glossary, so we can see any of those terms that we might have skipped over. We just want our Nell soup, or Nell stew. And I will, yeah, I'll go ahead and leave the link to the game in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I hope you give the game a try. And yeah, as always, if you're working on something, don't forget to enjoy the process. Bye now.